I really thought I was going to be praising this movie all year long, but I actually found it to be overall just not really one that worked for me. She Dances premiered last year at the Tribeca Film Festival, and that's where it first came on my radar. I saw that Steve Zahn was in it. Specifically, kind of did some research, saw that he co-wrote it, he is co-starring in it. I'm a big fan of his, and whenever I see a film that he's going to be starring in, but let alone one that actually he has such heavy involvement in, I'm going to be interested in seeing how it turned out. And for this indie drama, he called in seemingly a lot of favors and got a lot of his friends to be in it too. You have Ethan Hawke, Sonequa Martin-Green, Rosemarie DeWitt, Mackenzie Ziegler, like a lot of people. The story follows a struggling single father who is trying to reconnect with his teenage daughter as they go on a road trip to her dance competition. And unfortunately, this indie drama just didn't really work for me in a lot of ways, but particularly I just found myself emotionally distant from it. That was one of the bigger things. And that point is so interesting because this is a movie where I feel like there are some really good emotional beats. There are actually probably 3 or so sequences that really do draw out some like good emotions. I can see a lot of people getting very emotional over this film. I think those moments would have worked for me if the movie around it was stronger. And there's a lot of reasons kind of going into it. One, I feel like this is a movie that it's definitely like one of those indie dramedies. It feels like a Sundance movie or a Tribeca movie. Fairly low budget. There are even some sequences that seem like they were shot on an iPhone. And really just one of those dramas with someone that has a big name attached to it, and that's what kind of gets people interested in it. This is a movie that I found, for the most part, a lot of sequences to be painfully awkward. I think from a directing standpoint, those moments just really come off as awkward when they're very clearly not supposed to be. There's one moment in particular, probably about halfway in the movie, where Steve Zahn is kind of checking into a hotel. The person checking him in is another familiar face, Ron Livingston. And I found that moment to be painfully awkward. I'm sure they were kind of like, this is going to be a hilarious moment. And sure, it could work for some. I found it to be a sequence that really just did not work for me at all. There's countless other moments in the movie too, where the comedy is really supposed to work. Most of the scenes really do rely on the comedic moments working, and they just don't. For me, these moments didn't work, but it could work for people. That's the thing about comedy, it's so subjective. I also found that the movie needed some energy, especially in the storytelling. It just feels so dull. Extremely by the numbers. I found I knew where the story was going, even though there were some really good emotional moments. I think that really comes down to the acting in particular, but I found it to just be so predictable. The story just really wasn't all that engaging to me. I found that the movie just has just about a 90-minute runtime. I found it to feel much longer than that, and that's definitely not a good sign with any movie. I just found it to be a bit dull. I wish there was a little bit more flair. There is one thing that the movie is really obsessed with, particularly from the directorial perspective. Director and co-writer Rick Gomez is obsessed with split screen shots. It's a shot that I feel like really has to either be narratively driven or something that feels like it belongs here. Here, it's neither of those. It's not narratively driven. It doesn't feel like something that genuinely feels like it belongs. That shot's fine if you use it once, maybe twice, but I feel like after that, it gets to just be too much. There's clearly just an obsession with it. I found it to just be distracting. If it was narratively driven, I would have been like, okay, like I could understand why you're continuing to use these shots over and over again, but for me, it was just kind of like, why are we doing this again? Also, another directorial choice that just didn't work for me. These are more nitpicky things, I know. There's one moment where Steve Zahn is sitting down with his daughter and her friend, and he's kind of giving a kind of flashback. He's going back in time and retelling a story. You can do a moment like that and just have the camera focusing on him, maybe doing a slow zoom in and kind of just really getting lost in the dialogue there, or you can overlay some visuals there. And they decided to do the latter. Okay, fine. The idea was that they would use what seemed like a camcorder or a very shitty quality camera, obviously going through what Steve Zahn is basically narrating. It just felt really misplaced. To me, I thought it was a very bad choice because it's, once again, another thing that just feels awkward. It just feels like it didn't fit in the movie. It threw me off, and there were just a couple moments in this movie that really threw me off, and that's never a good sign, really. Unless the movie is trying to throw the viewer off. If it's trying to do something that you haven't seen before intentionally. To me, that did not feel like the case here because I think it's really just trying to be a straightforward drama. It does come across that Zahn clearly has a lot of love on display for the story. He does really feel like a personal story to him. Like I said, the emotional moments really do shine. It's something that's definitely can be appreciated, especially from the audience perspective. I feel like this is a movie that does wear its heart on its sleeve. But I think it kind of just goes a little bit into overly melodramatic, sappy territory. There are countless movies that I love that really do wear its heart on its sleeve, and they can go into melodramatic territory to some people. I don't feel like it's an issue of just me not being able to connect with stories like this. I just think that most of the movie came off awkward, and just not natural to me. Like I said, there are a couple really good emotional moments, mostly due to the acting. I wish the overall movie was stronger around it so I could really feel like I was genuinely getting invested in those moments. But unfortunately, my interest was really dwindling by the time those moments kicked in the third act. The ending was a bit abrupt too. Overall, this movie just didn't really click with me. It's really not that funny. Moments that are supposed to be what I've assumed they thought were going to be hilarious just don't come off as that. I thought the movie could have used some more energy in its style. It just comes off as dull, and I was uninterested for most of it. I wish it hit me more on an emotional level, but I ended up just feeling distant from it by the time the credits started to roll. I'm going to give She Dances a C, and I always recommend streaming this one if you're curious. I have a feeling I'm going to be in the minority on this one, but be sure to leave your thoughts on it down below in the comments. I would love to hear what you thought of it. I want to thank you so much for watching this review, and if you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, look forward to more content coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.